Greetings, my fellow airgun enthusiasts. Sorry I haven't put out a video in a while, but haven't actually been doing much shooting lately. I haven't had the time, but I have had some shop time. And even though I did build a new stem like a week after I'd broken the old one out on the range in the last video, I've been borrowing my air system here for the Talon system I'm putting together. I haven't finished the air system for that yet, but I needed an air system to kind of trial a few things in the valve assembly. So that's why I was kind of holding back, putting the Condor back together for you. I've received a lot of questions about my Condor and the custom setup I have here. And so I just thought, hey, why not shoot a video of me reassembling things and kind of walk you through what I've done, what I've made, what I've purchased, and give you an idea of what's in this thing. So the other thing I had to build was this nice custom jig here. What failed the last time was my porting. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just super inconsistent. I've got some thicker legs there, some really thin legs on this side, and yeah, after many shots through it, it just decided to fail on me. But with this new jig, I was able to bite it into the drill press and make some nice new, very consistent holes in the new one. So this one should hold up a lot better. I also changed the design a little bit. The length of the body is the same, except I moved and shrunk the ring a little bit to give me a little bit more space inside the valve body, as well as a little more neck inside the bolt. A little more purchase in there. Hopefully it'll prevent any blowback in my face, as well as maybe a little more room in the valve body. Should give that air some room to get around and through those porting holes. We'll see if it makes any improvements out on the range, hopefully. But I also had to create a new valve plug. This one was slightly damaged when the valve broke. And since this Delrin is such hard composite, I just ended up milling a new one. So I'm gonna press these guys together for you before I actually go any further. And we'll just set those there and snap. All right, now that's pressed on there. We can continue. I guess that moves us into the actual plenum and valve body. Now, all of these parts I've made on the lathe, including the valve body. As you can see, this is not threaded. What comes in a typical Air Force is this little threaded insert that sits inside the frame like so. This valve is actually everything in one, and you just seat this one just like you would this collar. That gives me a little more room in here for my valve body, so I can create much larger stems on there and have a little more leeway on all of that. Make sure I got the spring in there. Yep. We'll need a tool for that, but I'll worry about that later. Now this is my Strike Industries stock. What holds the plenum in here is behind this cap is just a bolt that goes through into the plug on the end of the plenum and pulls it tight into the stock. Consequently, the plenum is the same size as an A1 or an A2 style buffer tube. So that way I can utilize AR stocks on the end of my Air Force Condor or Talon. this is a 3D printed part. These ears actually grab the Condor body, so that way the stock is stiff, it doesn't want to rotate, because having a threaded plug in the end of the plenum, you can actually turn the stock and spin it around and around and unthread the plenum. So that's how I got around that. That 3D printed part indexes into the Strike Industries stock and then gives me this nice rigid stock for the end of the Condor. And that's how that works. That brings me to air system. So this is my air system for the Condor. I've got a carbon fiber bottle on here. I have the Alteros regulator, and then I have these scope mounts, which I did purchase. I did have to machine some rings for the inside of them to get them to fit the Alteros regulator. These are 34 millimeter scope rings, and I think I had to mill 2 millimeter shims for them, so that I had like a 32 or a 30 millimeter size to fit the Alteros regulator. And then I machined a plug for the end. This plug threads into the Alteros regulator and then gives me the output of that for the plenum. And that's how that system works. It just literally mounts right to the lower half of the Condor, just like that. For the Talon, I'm actually going to be using a China regulator. It's nothing wrong with the Alteros regulator. It does leak. Maybe this is exclusive to me, but that's one gripe I have with it. Right out of the box, leaked pretty badly out the fill probe hole. I contacted Alteros. They said, hey, it's your problem. You obviously did something wrong. So I try swapping the valve and the stem. So I did swap them over. That helped a little bit. I actually had to machine down the back side of the gauge to get it to index deeper inside, and that way it seals probably 98%. Still leaks. Oh well, I'm not going to ship it back for that since I got it mostly working. The other gripe I have with it is proprietary gauges and fill probes. I can't just go to the store and buy a new one off the shelf or order a new one. It's got to come directly from them. I can't put a Secmec gauge on there. It's got to be the Alteros gauge to fit their hole size. One other minor gripe is I can't fill it directly off my compressor. It has an extremely metered fill. So if you don't have a tank that you can just set the thing down and wait for it to finish filling, you'll never be able to do it. Your compressor will just keep turning off, and then oh hey, it's not full, turn it back on, and it'll turn back off again, because it'll hit its limit because of how restricted the fill rate is. Minor gripe, I do have a tank that I can fill off of. It's just sometimes if I'm going out in the field, I want to fill my gun up to full, then fill my tank up. That way I've got the most air I can take out on the field. China regulator is kind of nice. It comes with a lot more stuff. It comes with this handy dandy little plug for the back side, so you don't have to fill up an entire tank to set your regulator, because these are internal set regulators. You have to remove them and adjust this nut on the back side of them in order to adjust your output pressure. This, with this handy cap, you can just fill up this without wasting the air of having to fill up an entire tank. They also come with a top hat valve already. You can specify your size. two gauges, one for fill pressure, one for regulated pressure, and a fill probe, which are metric sizes but standard. I could still throw a SecMech on here. The only downside I've found to this one is it does have a very slow recharge. It's quick to start, and then it slows way down as it creeps up to that final output pressure. I did go through it and do some polishing and a couple little quick modifications, and I've yet to see if that will actually help out with consistency and stuff. And I'm actually not going to run any of this forward section. I'm actually going to adapt it much like I did the Alteros and have that mounted under the barrel of the Talon. Moving on to the frame. A lot of questions about the FX barrel here. This is a 22 caliber. You see I've got the carbon fiber sleeve on it, and then I've just built this aluminum plug here with the threads on it for my barrel shroud. As you can see, I've got a bushing here on the end, ported bushing. I don't know how well that'll pick up on the camera, but ported bushing there. Same here with ported bushing in the middle, and then a non-ported bushing here, obviously, so I don't get air blasting back into my face. And then additionally, there's one ported bushing in here, which I don't know if it'll pick it up, but that also supports the barrel as well. So you have the support of the frame as well as the carbon fiber sleeve on that barrel liner. Walking it through, I do have a heavier spring and a heavier hammer, obviously. I think I've got the 1.8 millimeter spring, and I've got a 125 gram hammer in there currently. I did have to machine the barrel down so that my bolt would fit over it. These are externally threaded or externally rifled barrel liners, so they're not smooth, meaning it wouldn't create a seal with my bolt. So I did have to turn that down on the lathe to get it to a point where it was smooth so that I could seal with O-rings on my bolt. I believe I've got that turned down to 10 millimeter. We'll figure that out. But that's that. I do have these Picatinny rails on here. These aren't factory. These are just Picatinny blanks that I machined to fit over my standard dovetails, and then threaded and bolted some gun screws into there to hold them on. This upper one here, I actually have machined it to a 20 MOA angle. Much like most of the modern guns out there, they're coming stock with a 20 MOA, some of them even more than that, like a 25. What else? I guess we can start putting this thing back together now, which isn't that hard to do. Without that plug in the back, I can throw my bolt right in there, thread in my cocking lever here. Got forward, got bottom and stock. I did machine another hole down here so that I can actually fit my wrench through and hit that forward set screw without having to pull off my whole trigger. And I can't even count the amount of times I've had this thing apart, so making it convenient to be able to take apart was a very big thing to me. Because when you're engineering and testing, it's It is so much time spent pulling this thing back apart to change one little thing that I had to find an easier way. So that's why I went with the set screws in there. Quick and easy. I can pull my grip off here. Turn that around. The one annoying part. I need to get my AR grip speed change on here. Anyway, that's mostly on. Air system, pretty simplistic. Once you align that hole, I've got my hose and stuff pre-cut for the perfect length here. These Picatinny mounts actually go on really easy. What I love about those too, I can pull off the whole air system very quickly. That's about all you need for there. And then custom barrel shroud. And there it is. Almost ready for action. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about anything, let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully that gives you a good rundown of what I've done to this Condor. Obviously there's a lot of things I still can do to it. I need to definitely get a new grip for it. Hopefully get the AR style going on there. Make it easier to pull apart and put back together again. And hopefully I will have the Talon going here pretty soon and be able to test that new valve system out there. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.